Hi guys, I want to tell you a little story from my past. I may have already related this, but just in case I haven't, it was something that I found it incredibly traumatic from my Christian youth. When I was uh, 12, 13, maybe a year younger, and it was towards the end of my church-going days when I made my reluctance to church so obvious that my mum couldn't deal with the fights anymore. But I was a very, very lively, willful kid. Not disrespectful, not disobedient, but I guess you'd say a bit of ADHD. And I always had a script running in my head, like an adventure script. I was always off doing action stuff, and you know, it creeped my mum out that I was not the kind of kid who if she just said do something, I'd do it, because I just got distracted, and like normal kids, you get bored and you don't want to do the boring stuff. So my mum spoke to the church elders, and I turned up to church one day in an evening service, and after the service they asked me to go in the back room. Now bear in mind that I'm already pissed off about having to be in church because I hated church, it was so boring. And then I go in the back room and there's a bunch of elders, I can't remember how many, 4, maybe 6 elders, all men. And this room's got, I seem to remember it had incense, but it certainly had low lighting. It was like an old hut. The church was a Nissen hut itself, and then the back was this kind of, almost like a mountain man's shack. And they sat me down in the middle, and they said that they were concerned about my behaviour, and they were going to conduct an exorcism on me. Now I didn't know what an exorcism was exactly, but they explained to me that I was possessed by demons, and that was why I was behaving badly. And then they conducted this ritual with all putting their hands on me and shouting and screaming and commanding the demons out and all of that stuff, which I found incredibly traumatic, because I've been tricked into this situation in a church I didn't want to be in, and at this stage I was still a believer, and I knew from the story of Legion that if a possession was conducted badly, that more demons would inhabit than had been there before. So if you had one demon before and they did it wrong, you'd get 20 or 10 or whatever. And they did this exorcism, and as I say, it went on for an hour, maybe even 2 hours. It went on for a long time, but because of the atmosphere and the chanting and the low light, and I'm sure there was incense, it was hypnotic. In fact, I have I will never ever allow myself to be hypnotised now. And it was as a result of that, but it was really hypnotic, and after a while I started to scream, and I think I was screaming because I was traumatised by what was going on. It was like, it's scary for a kid, to suddenly just be ripped out of a normal life and have to face that. And I screamed for a long time, and then afterwards they were all smug and congratulatory that I had been exercised. Now, I have to go back a step. First of all, one of the reasons why my mum thought I was possessed was because when I wanted to get to sleep, I used to make up little stories in my head, and I just used to speak the stories out. I used to play the characters in my head, and she listened outside the door, and she heard me talking while I was in bed, and she thought it was demons speaking, But also, in Christianity, they think that everything wrong is not just your own personality, it's something in you making you do it. So afterwards I felt no different except shell-shocked, and pretty soon after that I realised that I felt no different. My behaviour was exactly the same as it had always been, which is to say it wasn't naughty, it was just adventurous. It really was. That was all there was to it. I didn't have a bad bone in my body at that age, and so I realised that this exorcism hadn't worked, and so now I lived for a couple of years in terror, because I was convinced now that I was being inhabited by lots more stuff. I didn't ever think I was possessed before that point, but now, because they'd done it, and they'd done it badly because nothing had changed, I spent the next couple of years terrified that I was possessed by loads of demons now, whole hordes of them. And it got me thinking just the other week whether or not demonic possession was actually possible. Now, let's put aside for the fact that demons are fantasy in the first place. You know, I mean, I don't know if they could, based on something, have some root in reality. But demons, as we understand them, you know, this kind of thing from the nether worlds, if you like, is 99.999% fantasy in the first place. But the idea of one being possessing another. Now, since I became rational, dismissed the whole idea as being impossible, because you know, how would somebody else inhabit you? You know, how would their spirit in the movie Ghosts of Mars? They unearth an ancient site, and the spirits of the ancient Martians inhabit all of the Martian miners and turn them all into these murderous, crazy things. And the idea that you could do that has always seemed to me to be kind of, you know, how could that rationally happen? And obviously the idea of, you know, dust or someone's soul doing that is clearly not plausible. But in recent experiments, they have discovered that they can, using I can't remember if it was electronics of some sort of waves, I think, they can actually create false memories in other animals. I think it was rats they did it to. So they studied the brains of rats, then they made them do a maze, and then lots and lots of times, and then they studied how the brains changed, and then they found some way to activate in rats that had never done the maze these exact same parts of the brain. So it implanted that, you know, that it adjusted the cells in some way to make the rats' brains exactly the same as those people who had the memory of having done those rats who had the memory of having done the maze. And then the new rats, never having been through the maze, could immediately go through the maze. It's well known that you can use sound to affect the mood of people. In fact, there's a lot of research by the military going into that a lot more. You know, you can evoke elation or depression or even suicidal thoughts. And it's even known that if you sleep near to a strong electrical source, that can produce the feeling of out-of-body experiences. And obviously with, I think it was in one of the later series of Red Dwarf, Lister gets his arm chopped off to save him from a virus that's inside it, the epiderm, I think it's epiderm? I can't remember. But a virus that would kill him is inside his arm, so they chop his arm off. And then they give him a prosthetic limb, and he has to control it with the power of his mind. But there really are experiments going on now where people are literally controlling limbs, just they're connected to the arm, but it's measuring brain impulses and sending impulses to the limb to control it. So this connection between your brain and your limbs and your external forces in your brain, it seems to me that it is theoretically plausible that your thought process and indeed the actual actions that you take could be controlled by external forces. And if that's not possession, I don't know what is. You know, I mean, for me, the fear, especially after this thing was done to me, was that there were these other evil minds sitting behind me, kind of looking over the top, like driving me like a car, and it just freaked me out to think of all of these things in there looking out. You know, kind of, yeah. But I mean, it's interesting actually, completely on an aside, that the human body is absolutely filled with alien organisms, and by alien I mean non-human, which are all part of a symbiotic nature of us. You know, things in our gut and in other parts of our body. So in a sense, we already have this co-possession of our own body. But yeah, just an interesting idea. I mean. Possession is a very emotive word for what's really going, for what really can be accomplished, you know. But it is this sense of your body being taken over by another, and in this case it could be via a headset where one person's thoughts control a computer that control you, or who knows, you know, there are some amazing things in the universe, I'm sure, and it is within the bounds of possibility that there could be alien races which can project their thoughts in that way. You know, I mean, I don't want to go off into one, you know, but yeah, it seems to me now that in actual fact possession is entirely possible. Whether or not it's actually ever occurred is another matter. I think unlikely at the moment, but as I say, there are certainly scientific experiments where people's thought processes are being changed. So anyway, a bit of a ramble, guys, but I'd be fascinated to hear your insights. I'm sure that you guys have heard a lot more about this than I have, and so why don't you share your thoughts with the comments below. Thanks very much. You have a great day. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.